I vociferously disagree with any assertion that progressivism is somehow incompatible with fiscal responsibility. Progressivism believes in making investments that actually have returns.
Yes. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, vociferously is a very big word for her. I wonder who gave her that word. Must have been confusing. Vociferously. Well, that's polysyllabic, and it's a complex word for a woman that doesn't understand garbage disposals or lettuce growing in dirt. Not the brightest member of Congress, but there's a competition for that, isn't there? Who is the least bright member of Congress, the lowest IQ in Congress? AOC is right up there, but the media want to have sex with her, so that changes her relationship with the press and the public, as you might imagine. And then there's Jamal Bowman, the Democrat, also from New York. I got to tell you, New York's sending some real winners down to Washington, D.C., aren't they? Got Jamal Bowman from New York. We got some Kathy Hochul today, too. She thinks all the illegals are ending up in New York or something like that. She doesn't follow the news. They don't follow the news. They have no idea what's going on outside of their little bubbles, these people. But speaking of little bubbles, let's get back to AOC and the Democrats that are trying to sort all this out. Because the Democrat Congressman Jamal Bowman, a radical, a leftist, an extremist, a 12-year high school principal, who says that he doesn't understand how signs work on doors that are just resting there because, it's a complicated world. And he doesn't understand as a 12-year high school principal and as a human being living on Earth and in the United States of America. Presumably he went to school at some point, although there's very little evidence of that. And he pulled the fire alarm, and then he lied to everybody about it because he said, oh, gosh, I just didn't know. It looked like a door handle. It looked like a handle to the door. And I pulled the fire alarm thinking the door would open because I'm incredibly dumb. I have an amazingly low IQ. It's remarkable that I can even ambulate on my own. That's in case AOC is listening. That means, getting from point A to point B, walking and things like that. But the entrance, the exit, the doors, double doors, big double wooden doors with the push bars on them. And as you approach the doors, there is a stand with a big red sign with big white letters about 8 feet this side of the double doors. And it says, emergency exit only, in big letters, emergency exit only. And then resting on each of the two doors, big red plastic signs, 18 inches high, 18 inches across, says emergency exit only on each one of the signs. Push until alarm sounds. Push until alarm sounds. Then it says in parentheses, 3 seconds. Door will unlock in 30 seconds. Sounds like a pretty stupid system. Let me just say that. Where you push the door and the building's on fire, and it's going to take 30 seconds for the thing to open, right? And the high school principal and member of Congress then lied to everybody. And this is part of a statement put out by his people, presumably. And that means there is a seditious conspiracy here. And the seditious conspiracy is designed to obstruct an official proceeding of government, which if you walked into the Senate chamber and took a selfie on January 6th, you're looking at, and did nothing else, you're looking at 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. The congressman should obviously be in handcuffs. He said in a big lie that he put out in writing, today I was rushing to make a vote. Why were you rushing? I came to a door. We started singing The Doors, Jim Morrison earlier. I came to a door that is usually open for votes. Doubtless a lie. Why would that? It's an emergency exit only. Just today, though? No, I don't think so. It's usually open for votes, but today would not open. What do you mean it would not open? It's an emergency exit. There are big signs all over it. I'm embarrassed to admit that I activated the fire alarm, mistakenly thinking it would open the door. Well, IQ Daily, I want to be very clear. This was not me in any way trying to delay any vote. So he's just lying all over the place because he's a big fat liar. And that's what he does. And again, the front page of the New York Post today with a picture of the fire alarm itself. Does this look like a door handle? Representative Bowman's absurd alarm excuse exposed. And it turns out there are additional photos. There are more photos, because, hey, I want to get through the door, so I'll take the plastic signs that are resting on the push arms, and I'll throw them off to the side because it clearly says this is an emergency exit only. And when you push the bar, an alarm will sound, and then 30 seconds later, the door will open. And it should be noted there are other ways to get from the Cannon House office building. I spent enough time on Capitol Hill. There are underground tunnels. It's like Stalag 13 over there. It's like Hogan's Heroes. And there are tunnels that go under, and there are even little electric trains, and that you can walk the tunnels if you want get your steps in. Otherwise, there are little trains where you can go sit in the trains, and the little trains will quietly take you from the various office buildings on the Senate side and the House side, take you to the Capitol, and then you can take an elevator or the stairs from the subterranean tunnel system, and you might run into Colonel Hogan down there, and then you go and you vote. And everybody who is a member of Congress knows this. But this rectal aperture, wait, he's a rectal aperture? Yeah, he's a rectal aperture. He came up with this ridiculous story after proving what a fool he is, what an idiot he is. And it's pretty amazing stuff. So, don't just pull the fire alarm, rip down the signs, throw the signs to the side, then pull the fire alarm, then run in the opposite direction because you didn't know what was going to happen because your parents were dumb and you're dumb as a result. So you got that going. And then, of course, the media tells all of us that he was just looking to exit the building. And this is perfectly normal. Everybody does this because you're a Democrat party. Now, with that, and also the Department of Justice press release from 2021, where they explained that an individual from Tampa, Florida, that walked into the Capitol unimpeded, walked into the Senate chamber unimpeded, took a selfie, and then exited the Capitol without smashing anything or hitting anybody or doing anything. If found guilty, the Justice Department said in 2021 that he is looking at 20 years in prison, 20 years in prison, and a fine of $250,000 because he was convicted of obstruction of an official proceeding. Now, just because you're a Democrat member of Congress and a very low IQ person of low moral character doesn't mean that the law doesn't apply to you, does it? Let me just pause there for a second. Of course it does. Of course it means the law doesn't apply to you. He's a Democrat member of the House of Representatives, and he could commit the same crime over and over and over again. And Joe Biden's corrupt Justice Department, led by the corrupt Merrick Garland, would never threaten the Democrat member of Congress with 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine, as they did with a man from Tampa, Florida, named Paul Hodgkins, who entered the Capitol and walked into the Senate chamber unimpeded and took a selfie on January 6th of 2021. Because, your Democrats we have two systems of justice, and that's a big problem that a lot of us have with what's going on in the United States right now. Now, with that said, let's go to the Congresswoman, and I'm a huge fan of Nicole Malliotakis from Staten Island, from New York City, and she's a member of the House of Representatives. She's a Republican, and she likes things that are true, things that are true. She's fond of those. Not every member of Congress can say that. But this is an extraordinary episode because the Democrats just get away with murder all the time. They like to put murderers back on the streets and things like that, because they're not on our side. And there are additional photos that have been obtained not by the Washington Post or the New York Post, but the New York Times. But the New York Post has them. New pictures throw cold water on Representative Jamal Bowman's excuses for pulling fire alarm in House office building. And there are the signs that say it's an emergency exit, and he removed the signs and tossed them to the side, and then he pulled the fire alarm, which is, near the door, but it's on the wall to the left of the door, and it's clearly and obviously a fire alarm. And he clearly and obviously pulled the fire alarm, and there are photographs of him doing that. And then he made up these idiotic excuses, which should be embarrassing to him, but you know that the Democrats are unembarrassable. One of the many problems we have. All right, let's go to soundbite number 10. And again, Congressman Nicole Malliotakis, Republican from New York, nice Greek name, and she doesn't buy Congressman Jamal Bowman's lame-brained excuses for obstruction of a federal government proceeding.
Our fellow colleague from New York, Jamal Bowman, a member of the Socialist Squad, actually pulled the fire alarm to create a fake emergency to prohibit a vote on the House floor. And so I'll tell you this much, what he did was a federal crime, and I'm putting in a resolution to expel him from Congress.
See, now that's what we need more of in Congress, because there's not enough chaos up there. There's not enough. But honestly, when this guy is the source of chaos and proves himself to be the aperture that he is, if we believe in equal justice under law, which we did until the left took over the Democrat Party, they actually used to believe in at least some laws being applied. But now, and I love that she said a member of the Socialist Squad, which is what they are. And, you know, then their media pals jump in, which is where the merger of state and corporate power comes in for information dominance. And she points out it's a federal crime, and I'm going to introduce a bill to have him expelled from Congress for this ridiculous stunt. And I think that that is wonderful and advisable and exactly what ought to happen and exactly what the Democrats would do if some idiot Republican had done the same thing, because they scorch the earth every day. They take no prisoners, occasional hostages, but no prisoners. And Nicole Malliotakis is having none of it, pointing out, hey, you spent a bunch of time being a school official. You remember anything about those regular fire drills that you were in charge of for years?
This is the United States Congress. It's not a New York City public high school. And of all people, Jamal Bowman knows the old fire alarm trick because he was a high school principal. And quite frankly, when he was the high school principal, there were serious ramifications if a student were to do that, and including expulsion. Including expulsion from school. And when you do it as a member of Congress because you're trying to obstruct an official proceeding where the Republicans will end up not being the bad guys in the news media, like it or not, and there's a lot to say on that too, and we'll get to that. But Nicole Malliotakis is having none of it, and the Democrats were they had set it up so that that the Republicans would be the bad guys, and the media helps. And look, Democrats that entire afternoon were trying delay tactics. First, they tried to do a motion to adjourn. Then they tried to speak on the floor. Hakeem Jeffries gave a very long speech to try to further delay the vote. And then you saw the fire alarm pulled. So, it's these types of antics that the Democrats are resorting to try to disrupt proceedings. The long speech, the motion to adjourn, to pull the plug, because they know that the corrupt news media will fault the Republicans and only the Republicans for government not being funded. And so they were, up to their usual hijinks over here. They're stunts. And they're shameless and they're corrupt. And so is the news media, which is a match made in hell. It's called the Democrat Party. I've got more for you from Nicole Malliotakis and beyond the corrupt news media and so on as well on this Jamal Bowman, who should be expelled, and he should be charged with an obstruction of official government proceeding, just like January 6th, and face 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Should probably be held in the D.C. jail without bail, like so many people from January 6th, because we believe in equal justice under law in the United States. Well, the Democrats don't. President Biden has a nefarious plan to introduce the digital dollar. It's already in progress, and it's very important to understand
the potential consequences here, because what they're telling us about this is not true, of course, and it is not in our best interest. Time is of the essence, so getting smart on the subject is a great idea. You can help protect your savings, your retirement, your family from Joe Biden's harebrained digital dollar scheme by diversifying your retirement and your savings with gold and silver IRAs. You get started by calling the experts at American Alternative Assets. Call them today at 888-4GOLD20. That's 888-446-5320. Get all the guidance you need on safeguarding your retirement savings, getting smart on this scheme. Say no to Joe Biden's digital dollar. Call 888-4GOLD20. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Yeah, the Democrats and the law. The party of carjackings, street muggings, shootings, looting, arson. Got more of that for you today, too. We're at 888-630-9625. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. I have more audio for you from Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis and from the corrupt, filthy, rotten, dirty news media, Democrat Party bootlicks and fluffers that they are. Any lie they will carry until it just becomes too humiliating. Let's grab a quick call. Let's go to Sean calling from Lancaster, South Carolina. Sean, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Sean.
I just want to defend Congressman Bowman. There are only two possibilities to this. He's either a liar or an unintelligent moron. Either way, Congress is the perfect place for him. He's completely qualified for that job. I don't want to hear anything about getting rid of poor Bowman. He's exactly where he should be.
He has water seeks its own level, and so does Congressman Bowman. Now, here's the thing. He wants us to think that he's that dumb. His explanation is, Sean, that he's that dumb, right? He doesn't want us to think he's lying. But here's my hypothesis, though, Sean. Could he be both?
That's a good point, Chris.
Yeah,
good point.
See, I wouldn't rule that out. He could be that dumb and he's lying. In fact, I think you have to be that dumb to offer a lie like this when there are cameras everywhere. President Trump is in court today in New York, where a left-wing lynch mob is lying about him in an effort to charge him with crimes. You got this Letitia James, the radical extremist attorney general of the state of New York, who's a Democrat crook and pursuing the enemies of the Democrat Party by abusing her powerful post. And that honestly is actually what's going on. That's not hyperbole. That's not political rhetoric. President Trump spoke to cameras, and I'll share that with you coming up as well. And add to it, because honestly, when you say, as the judge did by fiat, that Mar-a-Lago, this one of the greatest estates in the United States of America, is worth $18 million. He could sell the tennis courts there for more than $18 million. He could sell the garage for more than $18 million. And when you're accusing someone of misrepresenting the value of their property and charging them with crimes for that, when there's no aggrieved party, and then you corruptly change the value of his property to claim that he's inflating the value of his property, you deflate the value of his property. You know, you're the crook here. The judge is the crook. The state attorney general is the crook. They are the crooks here, but I'll get to that. Now, let's get back to the crook in the Capitol, who should be facing the same thing that anybody that walked in there unimpeded on January 6th is facing 20 years in prison, unimpeded. You know, you don't assault anybody, you don't break anything, you don't steal anything. The police are holding the doors open. You walk into the Capitol, you walk to the Senate chamber, nobody blocks you from going in. You go into the Senate chamber, you take a selfie, then you leave the Capitol, kind of an unremarkable visit. And Joe Biden's Justice Department says, well, you're guilty of a crime obstructing an official proceeding of government that could put you in prison for 20 years and face a fine of $250,000. Well, just because you're a member of Congress, doesn't the law apply to you? And of course, the answer is no, the law doesn't apply to you because the left is here. And the left doesn't believe in the rule of law. They just believe in the rule. So let's go back to Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis from New York City and this Jamal Bowman radical, who is a Democrat member of Congress, just an appalling, terrible representative. And they'll keep sending him here again and again and again. National Panhandler Radio at taxpayer expense is trying to smooth everything over for him. GOP wants Representative Jamal Bowman punished after he triggered a fire alarm on Saturday. Oops, it was just an accident. I'm embarrassed, he said. Well, you're an embarrassment. I'll give you that much. So you should be embarrassed, I suppose. But here's the pulling the fire alarm, and Breitbart has a good one. Exclusive Capitol sources, : They all love their colons, don't they? Jamal Bowman threw signs warning door was emergency only on floor before pulling the fire alarm. So he walked up there, the signs, that's an emergency exit. You know, you walk in a different direction, you get on the steps. You can take a little underground train from the Cannon office building over to the Capitol building itself for votes. He's doubtless done it many times before. But as Nicole Malliotakis explained, the Democrats had already jumped in with a motion to adjourn Congress because if they didn't pass the bill before midnight, then the government shutdown happened, and the Republicans are the villains of the story once again. And then the radical leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives went up and gave a speech, a long, never-ending, just babbling, kind of filibuster-style speech, just to slow things down, to impede the progress of Congress, but he didn't pull the fire alarm. So let's go to soundbite number 13. Number 13, Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis on hey, you know, by the way, this stuff is illegal, and if we're going to hold people to an equal standard of law in Washington, D.C. in the United States, then you ought to face consequences just like January 6th.
Look, it's not just the act of pulling a fire alarm, which is a violation of D.C. code. But in addition to that, it was during an official proceeding. That is the same thing that they've gone after, you know, those individuals who walked into the Capitol on January 6th. You have to have an equal distribution of justice. You can't say it's disrupted, official proceeding on one hand, and then not hold this man accountable for doing this during when we had 12 hours to go and trying to preventing a shutdown of our nation's government.
And then Bowman told her, I thought the alarm would open the door. All right. Well, you're fired for that then, because honestly, if you're, you know, you've got a son, he's 9 years old. You think if he came home and told you he pulled a fire alarm that has the word fire on it and you got to pull the thing, and if he told you, oh, Dad, I thought it was going to open the door. Yeah, I don't think you'd buy that story, would you? Because every kid in every school knows what a fire alarm is, and every kid in every school knows what a fire alarm does. And given that he was amazingly the principal of a school for 12 years, and he's claiming that he doesn't know how fire alarms work, and he threw the plastic government signs that are on the double doors, 2 of them, threw them to the side, and then pulled the fire alarm. This guy, honestly, he's an IQ disaster. But that's your Democrat Party. And all the news media, they're trying to smooth it over. CNN, National Panhandler Radio, Bowman pulls fire alarm in House office building, but says it was an accident, is the CNN headline. Because, they're liars for the Democrats. That's what they do. Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis, she actually looked into the potential charges and talked about January 6th. Then if we're gonna have equal justice under law, then you got to apply the same laws to the member of Congress as you do to the people that walked in unimpeded to the Capitol on January 6th and caused no harm, but walked in unimpeded to the Senate chamber and took a selfie and then left. That guy there, hey, 20 years in prison for you and $250,000 fine. If you're a Democrat member of the House, the Democrats start raising money for you to bring you back for another term. Here's Nicole Maliotakis.
Yeah, look, it's a misdemeanor for pulling the fire alarm, but it's a felony if you're doing it to obstruct government proceedings, which is what we are saying occurred here. No, I just didn't know how to work doors, and I didn't know how to work fire alarms. So, I had to pull the fire alarm thinking the door would open. Just believe that I'm that stupid. Please, believe me. Trust me. I am that dumb. I'm that ignorant. I am fantastically unintelligent. I am Jamal Bowman, and he'll be reelected in a landslide next time because Democrats. And Nicole Maliotakis agrees. Look, it's very clear. It was a fire alarm. There's, if he wanted to push the door open like he claims, perhaps an alarm would have gone off. But that's not what he did. And also there's access to the Capitol through many different ways. It's not just through the doors. There's a tunnel that connects the Cannon building to the Capitol. So nobody buys this argument that he did it because he was trying to get out of the building to go vote. That's just ludicrous.
CNN buys it. MSNBC buys it. NPR buys it. I don't know if his mother is still around to be proud of him for this, but she must know that he's a low IQ, low quality, low morals kind of person because, it's on display now for all of us to see. Pretty amazing stuff. And really, he should be in cuffs, shouldn't he?
Especially a high school principal. And that is why a lot of Americans are questioning this morning, why has he not yet been arrested?
Well, come on. Let's not get all caught up in who killed who. Let's just let this be water under the bridge. We're all in this together. That's what the news media is doing today. CNN, MSDNC, The Washington Post. I'm embarrassed for our country because of the news media. They're just an awful, corrupt, sleazy bunch of people. I'm telling you. Front page of the Washington Post today doesn't have. It's funny they don't have it. I can't believe it's not on there. It's not on the front page about Jamal Bowman. It's probably not in there. The front page has election 2024 visits to Michigan fall flat on picket line. Joe Biden went up there and pretended he was walking the picket line for a few minutes for a photo op for the media. That then went ahead and turned it into something that it wasn't. Auto workers point to unfulfilled pledges after stops by Biden, Trump. Trump is actually not the president, but Biden went there and he made some promises and he was lying. But pay no attention to that. That's their front page news, but not Jamal Bowman. Yeah, it was day before yesterday. It was on the front page of the Sunday Post. No. Let's go to soundbite number 17. This is the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, this morning on the Fox News Channel, talking about Congressman Jamal Bowman, who is a radical socialist, extremist, squad member who has been lying since we met him day before yesterday because, he didn't pop up much before Saturday. Now that he's on the map, we can all see what he's about. Here is the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
Well, first of all, we're going to go through the investigation. What's really interesting, this is a former principal. He knows what a fire alarm is. This is a man that has gone on and yelled at members, and his behavior has been unbecoming. But what's interesting, if it really was just an accident, when the Capitol Police came to interview you, why would you lawyer up right away?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just say, oh my gosh, I made a mistake here? Why would you let it go on?
Why would you let it go on? Why? Well, because, you're a Democrat, you're bulletproof, which is good because so many Democrats shoot people, but politically bulletproof, you can do something like this, then you can lie about it, and you know that you'll be fine. Because Hakeem Jeffries is the Democrat leader in the House of Representatives, and he's the one who stood on the House floor blathering endlessly, hoping to delay and postpone and obstruct. But, you can do that within the rules on the House floor. Pulling fire alarms, forcing building evacuations, a fire department response, ambulances responding, because it's one of the 3 office buildings for the House of Representatives, and he pulled the fire alarm, and he should have to pay for the response, too. Now, if you sound a false alarm and it causes a big response, you're hiking in the mountains and rescue me, and it turns out you're just lazy and tired, then they make you pay for the rescue effort. And since he knowingly pulled, he knew there was no fire, he knew there was no emergency, he knowingly pulled it. There was a fire department response because it's the Congress, and there was a big response because it's a giant building and it's full of members of Congress. And he should have to pay out of pocket for that. He'd use his campaign money and then lie about that too. Kevin McCarthy with the Fox News crew this morning in the 8 a.m. hour.
If you know this individual, everybody knows. And if you've been a principal, you've had fire alarms and you've had children pull fire alarms. So is that where you go to the childish action?
Yeah. Do you want to see his phone to see if Hakeem Jeffries told him to do it?
I do not believe Hakeem Jeffries would ever say to do that.
That is great. And if you know this guy, saying if you know this guy, then you know. Also, I got the Reverend Al Charlatan weighing in, which is always a pleasure. Jake Tapper is a former Democrat Capitol Hill staffer. Did we play that Jake Tapper? We played that Jake Tapper. Let's go on to MSDNC and the Reverend Al Charlatan, who's there with radical left-wing Democrat Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who thinks she wants to take the Senate seat that Dianne Feinstein vacated. There has a woman of color who's on the LGBT spectrum has been named, and she's a lesbian abortion activist, and which is, I don't know. And then not one of her lanes, I would think, but okay, they just love abortion so much. But here's the Reverend Al Charlatan and radical left-wing extremist Congresswoman Barbara Lee.
What do you make of Republican attacks on New York Congressman Jamal Bowman? Capitol Police investigating why he pulled the fire alarm during yesterday's vote.
Right.
Bowman said it was unintentional.
Yeah, he didn't mean to.
Speaker McCarthy compared it to the acts of January 6th.
Can you believe that?
Members of his party are calling for his expulsion and censure. Is this an overreaction or perhaps even a distraction?
Maybe it's a distraction.
By Republicans. I know Jamal well. I doubt if he would intentionally do things, but an investigation holds its course. But
an investigation holds its course.
Even if they find something awry, to compare to January 6th, Congresswoman?
Yeah, to compare. Well, it's an obstruction of an official proceeding, but let's not get all caught up in the English language and definitional terms and the law, because we don't apply the law.
I believe Congressman Bowman. I know good and well that he didn't do this intentionally. He apologized.
Here's the video.
They're trying to find everything they can find to just try to distract from their efforts to destroy our democracy.
To destroy our democracy. Go loot another store until they go bankrupt. Stop shooting people. Stop carjacking everyone. Honestly, Democrats, MSDNC, the media, America. I remember when adults were in charge. It was bad enough then. Hey, do you have smelly odors in your home or your office you just can't get rid of? Well, now you can get rid of any stinky odor thanks to the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. The Thunderstorm gets rid of strong odors from cooking, cigarette smoke, litter boxes, trash cans, even leftists, if you should have any of those in your house. The Thunderstorm starts working in a matter of seconds to clear any room of any odor. And This is good news. There are no expensive filters to have to buy and replace and schedule again and again. More than 350,000 thunderstorms already sold. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet. Works like a champ. I've got 2 at home myself. During this week, I've got a great deal for you to save a lot of money and get your own thunderstorms. Right now, you can save $200 American when you get 3 Eden Pure thunderstorms for whole home protection. Put one in the teenager's room, bring one into work. That's 3 units for under $200. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and you enter the discount code Chris. That's me, CHRIS. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris, plus you get free shipping. Yeah, Al Sharpton and Barbara Lee. Well, it's the Republicans. So you have this idiot do this idiotic thing, and you attack the Republicans because that's what you do. That's why NBC pays Al Sharpton millions of dollars. Oh, part of it was the shakedown, too.
Even if they find something awry, to compare it to January 6th, Congresswoman?
Let's go to Marco, calling from Springfield, Virginia, without a lot of time. But Marco, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Well, hi, Chris. Thanks for taking my call.
You
sorry I don't have a lot of time because I really want to unload. I'm getting tired of my country being pissed on the toilet by these clowns. But Bowman doesn't think that we're stupid. He thinks his constituents are stupid, and sadly, he's right. Okay? Anybody that knows me well knows that I'm not a misogynist, okay, or a racist, but I'm going to tell you, there's one common denominator, all these people going after Trump, and that's black female, black male. Like, how come when somebody like Bowman does something obvious, okay, in your face type stuff, people aren't going bananas? Because he's a black man who's been getting in Marjorie Taylor's face, okay, Matt's face, okay? He needs to be dealt with severely.
You know, the Democrats love, of course, that's their shield. That's their impenetrable shield, race and gender and, of course, sexual orientation. And they love using those people as front people for that very reason.